Hello everyone and welcome to part 12 of the React series. Today's topic is filtration in React. I will add the drop down list in this container and it will allow us to filter the list by course. When we will select a language from the drop down list, we will listen for the event and provide the value to the list component. To do this, we will use parent-child communication and the state hook to complete our task. And also, if you are new, please do subscribe, press the bell icon to get all the notifications. Let's get started. In the app component, we have an array list with a language key value pair in each element. And I want to loop through it and return a new array based on the value inside these objects, which the filter method does. Filter is a JavaScript function that generates new array element based on the condition and return true or false. Let us start our code. In the new user component folder, add this filter.js. And in the new user folder, let's add list filter.css. And inside list filter component, let's add arrow function const list filter file name parenthesis curly braces. And inside of this function, I will return JSX built-in select element with different language option I want to select from. So return, and inside of this parenthesis, I will add the section with the class name list filter. So I'm going to style this using list filter class name. Now next, I'm also going to wrap it with div element class name list filter wrapper. The next line, I will add the label which is course, and in the next line we will add the select element, and it has three options. Option 1 HTML CSS, option 2 going to JavaScript, and option C going to React. And now export this file. Now I'm going to import into the my component. So here import this from, it is inside the new user folder, so add new user and slash and file name list filter. Now in JSX, I will add the list filter element below the button. So here list filter and close this element. Now save it and go to the browser, and here it is showing the drop down list and it looks very ugly. So I'm going to give it some basic styling too. Let's go to the text editor. First we will import the list filter CSS file at the top. So import single quotes, in single quote add dot slash and the file name list filter dot cs, and here also rename this file and add s. Now inside the list filter.css file, we will add the code. So we have the class name list filter. I will add the padding 1 rem and color going to black. So it is 1 1. And we have also the class list filter wrapper. Copy it and here we will paste it. Display is going to flex. Justify content, so it's going to be in the right position. Align item center and margin is going 1 rem. We have label, so I'm going to select it with this filter class and label, give it font size 1.5 rem. Font weight is going to bold and margin right 1.75 rem. And the last we are going to style the select element. So list filter class and select element, font size 1.2, padding is 1 rem, and border 4 pixel, style proof. The border color is steel blue. Save it. Now go to the browser. Let's see how does it look. As you can see, the drop down list has been successfully added to the user interfaces. Now I want to filter these items when I choose the one of these language here, such as HTML, CSS, React or JavaScript. And when I do, the list should be filtered so that only the items I have chosen are displayed, like only it should display Sandemus and Jenny. So let's see how we can make it happen. When a new option is selected from the drop down list, we will listen to changes on the select element. We will use the onChange event and pass the function drop down change handler as a value in curly braces to that event. Now we will listen to the changes on the select element when a new option is selected from the drop down list. Now in the function component, declare the drop down change handler function using the const drop down change handler, use parentheses and curly braces. It receives an object E as default and accepts it as a parameter. It has a target property that contains a value property. We will use this to determine the value selected from the drop down list. Let's log that data using console.log and pass the eObject.target.value. Now save it and we will check if everything is working. So here open the DevTools, press F12, and when I select React and it logged React in the console. When I select the HTML CSS, it logged HTML CSS, and when I select the JavaScript, it logged JavaScript. I already created a dedicated video about working with event handler. You can watch it. The link is in the description below. Now we want to pass this value, means selected value, from the list filter component to the list component here. But list component is a parent component and list filter is a child component, which means we have to pass data from child to parent component, and we already know how it works. Let's create a function in list component inside the function component using the const here const and name it filter course handler and pass the arguments name selected course. This will help us retrieve values from the list filter component. For now, we can use the console and pass the selected course as argument. Console.log and pass the parameter selected course. Now I want to call this function inside the list filter component. So here I will import it. Import list filter in the list component, and in JSX actually let's add the list component here, cut it from my component and add it to the list component. If I save it here and in the browser it is working fine. So now go to the text editor. In the list filter element we will declare event like props on drop down and in curly braces pass a handler function as a value, filter course handler. Save it and in the list filter component we will pass the argument props inside the parenthesis, and then we will assign the property using the dot notation inside drop down change handler function. Props dot on drop down and it accepts an argument e.target.value which return the value of the select element. So this function is accepting a value and passing it to the list component, and it receives value from the child component. So now in the browser, when we select a value from the drop down list, the function is called whenever the value of the drop down list changes. Now I want to update the UI whenever we get a new value from the drop down and only show the related components here. And we know we have to register the new state whenever we want to update and re-render. Let's register a new state in the list component using the useState hook. First, we will import it from the React library. The curly braces use state from React, and here we will register the state using const and destruct string pattern and pass the first variable filter code, comma, and the second value is going to state updating function set filter course. And after the equal to sign, declare the use hook and pass the JavaScript as an initial value. It will be the default value. Now within the filter course handler function, we will call the state updating function set filter course, and inside the parenthesis pass the argument selected course. It will update the current state, which is the value of the filter course, to the new value. The new value is passed to the function as an argument. Now I want to return a specific element when a value is chosen. Create a function called selected course, and in which we will use the filter method on the array detail. Detail is an array of object and filter method. It accepts a callback function, pass the argument user, and here we will check if the object match the current variable filter course value. So here return user.language and compare it to filter course. This function returns true if the language stored in state has the same value as the one we select from the drop down, and false otherwise. Now in JSX, we will map over filter items, transform the array and dynamically render the list. So here selected course. So now if I save it, when you go to the browser, you will notice that it is showing the component related to JavaScript, but here it is selected HTML CSS from the drop down list. For it to work, we are going to pass the variable filter course to child element. So declare a prop selected, inside the curly braces pass the filter, and in the list filter pass the value attribute to the root select element value, and inside curly braces we will pass the props dot select, and it will set the default value as initial value JavaScript. So now if I select the HTML CSS, it's going to update component and only select the related language element, and if I select the React, it is an empty list because there is no element related to it. If I fill the form and say it is React and submit it, now it adds the Gubber and language is React. If I now fill the form again and say it is Lily and say it is React, now submit the form, and here it is HTML CSS, it is selecting the Simba. If I select the JavaScript, now it's updated to the JavaScript component. I select the React, it's updated to the related component. And that's all for today's guys. Let's end this video here. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and share. If you are new, please check out the React tutorial playlist.